Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm thinking that this sucker's working, so we're going to find out. I'm going to go over a little PowerPoint I've put together tonight on, we're going to learn how to play Monopoly Corporation and mandate oversight through congressional process. So this is going to be fun. And I'm going to get my other devices set up here so I can watch comments as I go through this because of the way my setup is here tonight. Good evening, everyone. And it's good to see everybody here. Let everybody get joined in. And we'll get started on this rascal. It's come to my attention that a lot of people are wanting to try to do what I've done. And it's like, oh, well, okay. So while we're waiting on everybody to show up, let me show you what's behind me on the board over here, and I'll kind of run down through that real fast, kind of give you the picture pages version, which we love to do here. What we're looking at is a 4-pillared corporate entity. That's the de facto government. Okay. Now, based on the Restructuring Act, you can still get to the de jure republic if you incorporate yourself into the state. Okay. So, one of the things that this eliminates is it eliminates a lot of frivolous BS, because let's face it, with global affairs being what they are, not necessarily the best. We want them kind of focused on a lot of the things they should be focused on at the same time. However, we're also looking for answers to specific questions on how do we do away with this to see how many people we got in the stream here. Okay, well, that's okay. We'll get started. And anybody who wants to join from inside Zoom, the Zoom ID is 748-311-5755. I've got it set up where you can just join in. If you do come in to Zoom, please keep your mic muted and your camera off so it doesn't interfere with the PowerPoint, because, you know, I want to make sure that I get through this okay and I'm able to answer some of these questions for you guys who are wanting to do this and do it properly. One of the major benefits to incorporating into the state is that it mandates oversight, and you can mandate oversight at any course and time over the year. One of the things that corporations do as defense contractors is research and development. So I'm going to share with you, some of it might be a little bit of a recap, but it's going to make sense to you as I go. So let me go ahead and get this PowerPoint up on the screen here. And so here's where we are. All right. So you want to create your company. Also, you know, these steps are intended as educational guidance and are not to be used to or interpreted outside of the state or any state or federal law. In other words, if you go rogue, it's on you. You have to ask yourself, what is my company's purpose? Here's some things you need to prepare for. Hours of reading and study. If you're going to build a company and you're going to want it to do research and development on any topic or form or word or anything, you need to make sure that you are prepared for hours of reading and research and study. And There are many types of companies, styles, and formats, so choose yours only after you've chosen your company's mission statement. Your mission statement is basically what you're telling them you want this thing to do. I chose for E clause the preamble to the Constitution as providing for the common defense in the common law is justified and appropriate. So where it comes from in law is the preamble. This step is paramount in that you do not want to inadvertently break any state or federal laws as you begin to build and utilize your company to do business lawfully within the Commerce Clause and specifically the Hobbs Act. Now, one of the reasons why I've chosen this act specifically is because one of my specialties, having done, global business, is multi-jurisdictional, issues. Some states we've said on the, you've heard me say several times, some states use the Reed's manual, some states use the Basin's manual, and so on and so on and so on. So every state has its little unique quirks to it. And you need to be mindful if there's going to be any required reciprocity or any required registration through the state. And I'm going to explain to you guys how to do that. You're going to do that lawfully, correctly, and make sure you don't set yourself up for failure. Your benefits of incorporation are mandatory oversight moves your questions to the front of the line to begin the oversight process through the General Assembly and state level executive agencies. Remonstrance or other other grievance process, lawful notifications, parliamentary inquiries, basic and special purpose motions to the body, and of course, proper standing to assemble a special session if circumstances mandate it. Again, depending on what your subject matter is and what you're researching, where you're at in your development, do you need for, like in this project that I'm working on, well, whenever we get orders from a higher level court, part of the oversight process is to take those orders to the oversight committees and at the state and federal level through the design I've shown you and say, okay, based on this case and this subject matter, here's what the court said. So, and as I said, see your state's House and Senate rules and research which book of process is the primary choice for your state. Now, again, knowing that fortunately for me, the three districts that I'm working in being Florida, Ohio, and DC primarily use Masons. So, I don't have to kind of play this, back and forth and juggle and jump up and down and stuff like I've had to do in the private sector when we're dealing with franchising and, various other corporate type business kind of stuff. So franchising is another thing that you're going to learn how to do as you go through this process and, kind of get your feet wet with it a little bit. So what can I do with my corporation? It's a good question. You can include just about anything into a corporate entity and protect it under the corporate veil. There's two very good examples of the corporate veil. Real property being land and structures, fleet or vehicles, personnel, human resources, contracts, personal credentials, and other such type stuff. And of course, other assets you designate, books, files, research materials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, this is entirely up to you. It's your company. You set it up however you want to set it up. That's your baby. So in light of that, we will go into what do we got next here. So where do you begin? This is a very good question. For everybody's first question everybody's asked me, where the hell do I start? So you want to go to your Department of State here in Florida. It's sunbiz.com. And You're going to learn how to register a trademark and create your business entity. So I took the liberty of inputting a hyperlink into the presentation here. So when you click on it, it'll pop up and it shows us. I might have to reshare that, which of course I'm going to have to reshare that. New share. And here we go. So this is in the state of Florida. This is what our Florida Department of State looks like, right? Florida Incorporation Services. This is how you incorporate yourself into the state to do any kind of business lawfully. Because remember, I look at it this way. If I'm going to pay for representation, I want representation that I'm confident in, and I want to follow the process that I want to follow. I want to make the arguments that I want to make. Stop me if any of this doesn't sound familiar to you. And I want to navigate the process pursuant to the rules of the common law, which again is on the board behind me. And one of the ways that you can prove that you're capable of standing up for yourself, remember that maxim of law, everyone is the manager and disposer of his own matters. So one of the ways that you accomplish that standing is if you're smart enough to be able to incorporate yourself into the state and assume your position and standing in law, then you're obviously smart enough to be able to do business for yourself. Okay. So this is Florida's. You can go to your, like I say, your different, wherever you are at your state level. I mean, every state's a little bit different. So we would go here and we want to go to LLC order forms. We got LLC fees and services, fictitious name registration. Talk about an oxymoron. Florida corporation order form, Florida corporation fees and services, and of course, nonprofit corporations order form. Now, as far as these nonprofit things go, I try to avoid nonprofits for a multitude of reasons. If for no other reason, the issues of taxes, because you find yourself doing a whole lot of extra work preparing for tax season that you don't have to do with a for-profit corporation. Who cares if you made money and how much money you made? Who gives a crap, right? It's better to say, hey, I would rather tell the truth. Here's what it is. Here's what I spent. Because remember, there's two edges to the sword. If they're going to ask you how much you make, you're also going to say, well, here's what you cost me. Okay. So one of the ways you can also use your corporation to benefit you is to show the loss. We talk about, all these legal fees and all this service that we pay for and all these process servers and postage and, priority mail. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And the best way to do that is to take those receipts, itemize those in a spreadsheet style format. All you got to do is go and, there are multiple places that can show you how to do this stuff. And it's very simple. You itemize your receipts in a spreadsheet and you keep them in order. You staple a profit and loss cover page to it at the end of every month. And you file it away and you call that January. You do one for February, you do one for March, and so on and so forth. So at the end of fiscal year, all you do is you pull all those files back out, you create a master spreadsheet, and you submit your tax forms at the end of the year with your attached documentation, your proof, right? So what you're doing is you're actually also learning how to repetitiously create the appendix through, if you have to go to a judicial proceeding, your tax paperwork, your spreadsheet, your profit and loss statement for your company that goes on the cover of your tax forms is also the same as the cover page on your appendix. So, again, it's teaching yourself how to do it repetitiously. And this way, as you do business, everything is uniform, everything is consistent, everybody gets the same story, right? And if you've got nothing to hide, who gives a crap? Hell, that's been my biggest bitch. Well, hey, I've shown you mine, show me yours. And that's the biggest bitch right there is, oh, well, we ain't going to do that. Is that a threat? Are you threatening me? Wait a minute. How is asking you a question threatening you? So back to the original presentation. Another place you might want to go is to the irs.gov to acquire your EIN, or employment identification number. You will need to file any and all of your paperwork through the IRS and others for oversight as you do business throughout the fiscal year. Now, the fiscal year is however you set it up. I set mine up January to December to match the calendar year. I've worked at companies that start at the 6th month and end at the 6th month. I even worked for a company that did it on the 8th month. So, it's really confusing, but by doing it, changing your fiscal year, your tax year, it allows you to kind of go around all of the private sector stuff. Excuse me. So you can kind of get in and get out. And, if you want to, and of course, with your corporation, you can change your tax year at any time. You could be 3 years into it and say, you know what? I think I do want to do an 8th month fiscal year. So I can go in there and get in, get out, be done with it. And I'm back on and I'm working. You can plow through the holiday season all the way up back through and not miss a beat in the beginning of the new year. And this is very popular, again, with the retail parts industry. So another such entity is the Small Business Association, or SBA.gov. Help you find ways, or help you find state and local people to network with as you get started. And there's also another entity called the Chamber of Commerce, which I didn't put in the presentation because it just occurred to me. Every local area does have its own Chamber of Commerce. So one of the nice things about being able to network with your local Chamber of Commerce, you get to know a lot of your local people. They get to know you as a business person. Okay. So in whatever your business is, me being in loss prevention, I'm able to do certain things with my company that are related to what I used to do in my former life, because I still have all those contacts. And, my customer base is very loyal to me. So, there's a reason for that. That means I was probably pretty damn good at my job. So, let's go into the next. Oops. Here's a couple of examples of what your initial charter documents will look like. Once you've gone through your Department of State and you followed the process through like the way I showed you, you will get documents that look similar to these. And these are your charters. The one of them is my actual corporate charter. And the second one is where I registered the E-Clause registered trademark. And so these, you've also seen them. They're on the wall behind me. Matter of fact, actually, there's 3 of them in total, but the very first bottom 3 are those corporate charter documents. That's the reason I put them there. So, because they're the foundations of my company. Just made sense to put them on the bottom. Let's see here. Here's your average basic company structure. You got to start with your company's name. whoever your chief executive officer, CEO, chief financial officer, CFO, and of course your board of directors. Now, know and understand, if you're single, you will probably wear both hats, CEO and CFO. In my case, board of directors are my kids. So my kids are protected by the corporate veil. That's pretty much how I was able to pull that off. So, and of course, below them, you have support staff, your executive staff, your financial staff, and your board staff. For example, if the kids were to come here and I'm at work and they would need a sitter or a nanny or something like that, whatever, that would go under board staff, and that would be a corporate expense written off the end of the year. See how easy this is? And so there's really no set structure. You can construct yours, as you so desire, depending on your company's needs. Keeping it simple will aid you in any potential audits or other periodic inquiries, as they may occur without a lot of advance notice. You can also use these processes to your advantage if you run things properly. There's no better witness for oversight on your behalf than a well-executed government audit which finds no fault with your company or its business practices. Another benefit of keeping everything lawful, right? How many times have we said it? Have I said it myself personally, and my partners and everybody I do business with? Don't go clawing at the door at the Supreme Court. Don't go acting a fool. There's plenty of people out there doing that. They don't need anybody else to help them. Trust me. So, if you want to do this and get through it properly, showing that you are capable of constructing something like this is, again, put you to the front of the line, because that means you're probably pretty smart. You're somebody that is worth talking to, right? So at the end of your fiscal year, your business entities are required to submit a year-end report for your company's fiscal year, as shown in this example. Once mastered, this process will also work to your benefit. Now, your year-end reports is when you can do some serious damage, man. And I mean serious damage. I have, as I go through this, I'm going to share my actual year-end report from last year, so you guys will get a chance to take a look at exactly the entire thing that I submitted. So hold on to your hats, because that was a monstrosity. Let me just put it to you that way. So another thing in your corporation, one of the reasons why I said you want to research what your state's oversight process is and what manual they use, because when they ask you what is the nature of your business and what are you going to do with it, how does it operate? Well, using the same 10 principles that they use, I think it's safe to say that you're probably not a rogue bad guy or bad girl, depending on who are, whatever. But it also shows them that, hey, this guy did take the time, or this girl did take the time to learn how to do this the right way. So if they have any questions or we have to do any business, this is going to be an in and out thing, man. Boom, boom, boom. Remember that parliamentary inquiry that I did? And it turned out it was Dianne Feinstein that asked Bill Barr, hey, tell me about the emoluments clause. And it was going in there with a small, short, easy process, something it's only 5 steps. And I mean, in a manual that is only, get my measuring stick out here, and this sucker measures 5 inches on the cover, 5 inches by 8 inches. So you figure it's probably 4 inches in text wide, and maybe 6.5 or 7 inches long in text on the inside. So, I mean, come on. How difficult can this be with 5 steps? What are you talking? Maybe 10 sentences at the most. So, it seems pretty basic and pretty generic, but guess what? It works. So when you build a for-profit corporation, research and development is a very, very common occurrence in companies. The research and development, there is no restriction on subject matter. You could research anything from a word to warp drive and everything in between. So if you like planes, if you want to go do Space Force like I do, that's I have fun with these guys, and I think they've started to accept the fact that, hey, this guy's kind of an asshole, but he's funny at the same time. So why not have a little fun with him? And my research and development project was this word. And one of the main reasons why that is because, well, from the 15th century, the word was undisturbed. In 1991, this new definition pops up. So it's like, well, it's got one part of the definition is defined. Well, the other part is not defined. It just says foreign emoluments clause. So how did something undisturbed from the 15th century all of a sudden mysteriously pop up with a brand new definition in 1991? And since I ordered my Black's Law 11th edition, should be here any day now, one of the first things I'm going to look at after I look up sovereign citizen to see if that's still in there, because I still don't know what the hell that is. Talk about shit made up. I'm going to find out if they have attempted to enter a definition for foreign emoluments clause. However, the word emoluments, and I've gone over this more than once, I possess an oath of office through the state of Florida. The word appears in my oath of office. And because it's vague at best in its definition, any advantage, profit, or gain received as a result of one's employment or one's holding of office, as a corporation, I walked in and said, yo, dude, you need to tell me about this word, right? This is, I'm not breaking any laws here or anything, am I? Right? You're asking a question. That's what an inquiry is. So that's the standing, my status is as a corporation. And of course, the paperwork was presented properly in context of the reason why I asked the question. So, also as a licensed professional, these things all go into your corporation, your company, right? These are, assets, part of what makes your company what it is. And in this case, well, I have a business license to do business in the Department of Commerce. I think it's safe to say that at least since 1999, definitively, I can prove, I have been lawfully executing business in the Department of Commerce properly, lawfully. So asking the question about this word again was justified and appropriate. Okay, research, R&D directional changes. Be prepared for this. One of the primary benefits of being a for-profit entity is that research and development of any project can often take turns and twists you never see coming at the inception of the project. For-profit companies can utilize their, I'm going to turn off my phone here because this thing won't shut up. There we go. I'll fix your wagon. Let's see. For-profit companies can utilize this to their advantage as well, since the corporate structure is conducive to losses related to such work. What does that mean? That means companies spend a crap ton of money all the time that they know they're going to lose. That's why it's called research and development. Okay. So be sure to keep a well-constructed notes along with cited source lists as you go. You never know when an audit will pop up and require you to revisit old ground during that process. Now, there's a multitude of benefits for this, because you can definitively go through and say, okay, here was the direction of this thing when I started. Here's where we are now. See why, you understand the confusion here, right? So it gives you a way to go in and not have to go through a whole lot of jargon. Okay. Especially like in this example, we're talking about law, so it's jargon they understand. But I mean, if we're talking about, what I used to do in my former life, these guys would know an alternator from a reluctor wheel if it came up and punched him in the mouth. So fortunately, I don't have to cross the bridge of alternators and reluctor wheels in this project. This is about the law, okay, and about this specific word in my oath of office that I'm going to research and develop, whether anybody likes it or not, because that's just the kind of guy I am. And so one of such twists and turns is based on the theory of researching Title IV. This pops up. So ran it through the meter, and what did the Supreme Court say? Oh, hell no. Don't you even think about bringing that shite back in here again. So it's like, okay, that's probably a bad thing. Shouldn't do that. Right? So take that and go back to the legislation with the SMU Act. And of course, I've read that to you guys, and we all died laughing and had a good time. So speak of the devil. Effective title page construction, first impression is everything. Trust me on this. You want to be heard, you want to be respected, you want to be taken seriously. At least present the appearance that you're trying to do it and make it look like something legible. Okay. What body politic is being addressed? What's the title of the document? The rules of the body politic, basically, what are they supposed to do and how and why are they supposed to do it? The parties, entities of the subject matter in question, constitutional articles in question. Remember, we're in the house of the Constitution. This is the place we ask those questions. Reference standing orders, if any exist. Idea being conveyed, in this case, weaponized family court. Reference materials used, bodies of law, Annals of America, Volume 2, for example. Who authored the document? Principles and practices of law employed in the construction of the document, such as legal maxims, right? So if you can't answer a specific question, if a case isn't available or doesn't quite say what you want it to say, use a legal maxim. It's a rule of thumb. I love those suckers. As you saw in my legislation, I put 56 of them up there for you guys to enjoy. And I hope you do. So looks like we're filling up pretty good over here. So sweet. Let's see here. Moving on. Or did we get done? Oh, we got done. Sweet. All right. So now let me go back to here and let's go back into that because I had that prepared and ready to rock and roll. And let's see. Go into those legal maxims. There they are. To use these to quote for oversight, number one, again, anything that puts careful thought into it shows you've put some time, you've put some effort into this thing. That if it comes to there's going to be a legal battle, you want them to know and understand you're a formidable foe, right? Or in this context, you're somebody who is probably qualified as a defense contractor, right? So remember, providing for the common defense in the common law. So you have to be able to prove, can you do that? Well, how many bar members can prove a negative? Hell, Rudy Giuliani went on Fox News and says, I've never had to prove a negative. Loss prevention's done it more than once in more than one state, more than one case. So, it's if anything, I've established myself as a definitely qualified word salad constructor. Sorry. I couldn't resist. So anyway, I hope that kind of gets you guys started on where to go, what to do. I'll go back to and I'll share the page with the because I don't know if I actually did go back into. Whoops. Pull up the right one here. There we go. Slideshow. Maybe, possibly, could be. There we are. And no, we didn't go to the irs.gov. So let's go to irs.gov. What does that look like? Okay. Everybody who's been here and you want to search for, you want to pull up your EIN. EIN. Maybe. There. Oh, new share. Let me share it. That would help. So you guys know what I'm looking at. There we go. Okay. So here we are. Just put up here in the little search box the words EIN, or the letters EIN, just like that. And here is what pops up for EIN numbers. Employer identification number. So you want to go to, do you need a new EIN or just apply for an EIN number? So this is right there at the very beginning. All you had to do was type 3 letters, EIN, and first freaking options is that right there. There are below that, there are these different publications that some of them are actually very, very worth reading, by the way. Understanding your EIN, pre-enrolled EIN brochures, and so on and so on and so on. You know, this one here is a form SS4. I think this particular one is in Spanish, but there is, I believe that is for foreign registration for foreign corporations to do business in this country. Did you lose or misplace your EIN? Did you have one and you're like, hey, I had one of those, I need to find mine. Okay, there's where you go to find it. Canceling your EIN, closing your account, whatever you need. So I said there's a whole ton of stuff that's related to your EIN and doing business. You also learn a lot about the oversight process by actually going through and reading some of these, because it'll kind of give you an idea of what sections in law to quote, to point out when you go in and you say, okay, well, my corporation does this, this, and this. According to the EIN information, oversight process is this. So no matter how you get your foot in the door, okay, it doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it lawfully and correctly. Yes, I admit, I don't like the corporation crap any more than the rest of you do. However, it's kind of what we're stuck with at this particular moment. So the best way to do it is to walk in there, right? Instead of standing outside, holding the sign, scratching at the door, make yourself look like an idiot, figure out how to get your face in the door and go be heard, right? How many times have we said it, learn how to raise your hand properly. Hey, I want to be heard here, right? So we already know you're not everywhere, that the court's the crime scene. I mean, hell, you wouldn't be watching this live feed if you didn't know that the court was the crime scene. So I think that's pretty safe to say. So boy, am I glad we confirmed what we already know in that. And let's see here. SBA, let's learn how to do a little networking, shall we? This is some pretty good stuff. And there we are. And I'll reshare that. Maybe. There we go. New share. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. Small Business Association. What is the Small Business Association? Well, you can check out the guide. Okay. You can create an account. You can register, log in if you have one. There's a whole thing of contact us. Here you go. Federal contracting. Once you have a corporation, guess what you can do? You can use the SBA as a resource for federal contracting. Let me give you an example of one of those contracts. So I happen to know one off the top of my head. U.S. Community. Whoops, if I can learn how to spell it. .org. UScommunities.org. Now, what is uscommunities.org? This is a program where you can go in and you can place your bid and become a vendor, right? What is as a defense contractor, in the common law? Well, I would want to register, which I've already done, by the way, to become a vendor to U.S. communities and in the Omnia partners. This program, I believe, goes back to like 92 or 93. Now, reason I know about this and I know so much about it, basically what it is it's like an Angie's List for any and all government contractors, or I believe even religious nonprofits that can purchase your goods or services and be eligible for like 10% of reimbursement of whatever they spend with you from the federal government, and it gets returned back into their general fund. So it's a smart business decision for them to use uscommunities.org for vendors. So again, having done this for a while, I think it's safe to say that I even know most of the ins and outs of how to do all this stuff. So let me go back here. We'll go to the SBA and let me see. Let me just go here to Chamber of Commerce. Let's pull up Chamber of Commerce, shall we? And Ocala, Marion Chamber of Commerce. Let's look at that. I want their website. Maybe. I want their website. Am I going to get their website? Therein lies the question. There we go. Okay. So again, take notice. There's a website, Ocala CEP, Chamber of Chamber and Economic Partnership. Imagine that, something I didn't know. You can find everything out on here, who your local people are. There are any outings? It looks like June 20th at 5 to 7. There's a golf outing at the Ocala Golf Club. My luck, I'd probably hit one so hard it'd probably bounce off the damn International Space Station, as pissed as I am anymore. Anyway, I digress. On their cover page, you can find out all kinds of different things. There's your Marion County seal. Find out what the hell that is, just for the sport of it. And here we are. Welcome to, talk about going back and forth, and apparently that's not one of them. Bad example. Let's see, Seco Energy. See if that one will work. Should take you to the electric company. Nope. I was trying to do this without having to leave the page, but anyway, you can go through and figure out who some of the partners are, who some of the businesses are. See, Ocala Find Your Place, no idea what that is. Cone Distributing Incorporated, don't know that. E1, don't know what that is. Let me cover something with this, because if you're going to do business and you're going to create a corporation, let me go back to the original presentation here. I want to share this. Go back to the actual, your company's name. Take some time and think about this. And I mean, really think about it. You want your company's name to say what it is you do. You know, we have a joke in my family. There was a bank where I used to live in Ohio called Bank One. And it was big, bold block letters. And there was no mistaking what the hell that thing was or what it did. Bank One. It's one of the 7 danger signs that's probably a bank, right? So, take some time and really put into, put into context exactly what it is that you want. See, with me, and that's one of the reasons I chose E-Clause, was it actually covered two purposes. My middle name is Edward, begins with an E. So if anybody wants to screw with me, I can say, oh, it's Edward. But everybody knows it's emoluments. So that's the standing joke. My dad says, I got to change your damn birth certificate now, damn kid. So, it's one of those things, it's, to me, I use my humor, and, there are a lot of people out there that do the same thing, but really put some effort into your company's name. And again, with your, looking at your logo, you can make it smooth. You can make it elegant. It can be, doesn't have to be majorly intrusive. It's legible. You can definitely tell that's legible. One of the reasons that I put the loss prevention and of course the Latin in there is because anybody who knows anything about the language of Latin knows that it's the language of one of two things, either medical stuff or the court. So chances are it's one of those two. And because there's a corporation, loss prevention, everybody's ever worked in a corporation knows what the hell loss prevention is. So like Bank One, loss prevention. Okay. So the logo is smooth. The logo is elegant. But when you see those big, bold letters, loss prevention, chances are you know what that is because you've worked with it or somebody who works in it before. So that's why I say when it comes to creating your company, really don't be afraid to take some time and put some effort into, actually making the thing legible, knowing and understanding the person who's going to pick that sucker up and look at it doesn't know you, knows nothing about you. And, you want to make a good first impression, right? So, if you're going to take the time and you're going to do something, including your logo and your company name and how you present yourself, do you present well? There's a lot of these factors that go into the psychological end of this, and companies have done a lot of research and spent a lot of money to do this, to where you can grab that person's attention and go, I know exactly what that thing is. And for whatever the reason, however they equate it in their mind, they're going to say, I know what that thing is. And that's what you want your reader to do. Okay. Now, when we talk about in law, let me share go back to the cover page here of the SMU Act, because it's just what's up on the screen. We talk about, I'll just use this because it's there. The diploma font. Okay. The diploma font is, goes back to our country's origins. So it's a free download. Doesn't cost you anything. So, are you willing to take the time, put the effort forth, and to say, hey, I can play by the rules. I've learned a little bit about history, including the font that you guys use. I'm pretty, hey, I'm somebody worth talking to, right? It seems so small and so insignificant, but to the person who's going to be reading it, who's never met you and may never meet you, you don't know that. It shows that, man, you are really capable of putting some thought into this. This is something I want to read, because remember, when business professionals prepare reports, I've dropped in 1,564 pages on them. Give them one good reason why they shouldn't take that sucker and drop it in the trash can. I mean, that thing's we talked about, John was on the show. We talked with damn thing's a whale. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a whale. I'd still be doing this thing called loss prevention in the private sector. So the fact that I'm here providing this service for you to get through this issue Doesn't matter what the hell went on between me and my ex-wife. That was 11 years ago. You know, talk about water under the bridge. That's water is so far under the gone. See ya. You know, I could care less what the hell she's doing. And I think I've made that very clear. So much so to the point I've said, oh, and by the way, you can't represent her because there's no reciprocity for that. There's no due process for that. And because there's no due process for that, and again, in the document, that's why it shows in error. So that's I think the writ of supervisory control, I believe, was where I definitively pointed that out. So again, knowing and understanding that these people, they do this stuff all day long. They know what this is. So if you're going to take the time and you're going to incorporate yourself into the state and say, you know what? I paid how many of those damn bar members? How many people have paid a bar member to do this job? I can't make those arguments. I'll lose my bar card. Wait, what? You want me to pay you to not make the arguments I want you to make? Hello, McFly, right? It's okay, dude. I got this. I don't need your bar card, your bar association, or your other shit made up. I got some of my own, right? Because in my profession, it was, hey, I got this whole portfolio of stuff that I can get to the end of this sucker, whether anybody likes what the end result is or not. I don't care. Point is I'm going to get to the end result. So I took this thing, I took all of that knowledge, and I created this thing behind me called eClause. And it's, I'm going to get these questions answered. I'm going to make the arguments that I want to make, inconsequential to my ex-wife and the kids at this point in time, because there's no standing for them to do what they've done. I've already proven that. So now it is we go in and we unscrew what's been screwed up. Just the fact that I know all of that history 10 times more than they do, again, well, expect them to get pissed off at that. When you walk in and you're literally telling somebody that you know more than they do, that's intimidating. Expect backlash, expect some heat for that. So you need to do that tactfully. You need to do it clearly. You need to do it concisely. And again, one of the main reasons why I'm a stickler for this, and I'm going to beat this into you guys' heads, always cite your sources. Look what's going on with Joe Biden right now. He was just accused of plagiarism. I mean, come on, don't think they won't catch you in a New York second. Cite your sources. It's very simple. All you got to do is, I'll do it. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about because I have that up on the screen here. Maybe. Okay, maybe not. Let me pull up the, come on. There we go. I think I can. Memorandum of law and Sheriff's Mandamus. Is it this one? Come on. One of these documents has a specific document I'm looking for. And nope, it's not this one. Crap. There's a method to this madness. Give me just a bear with me a second here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Where is it? No, that's not what I want. Original proceeding, Mason's 24. Vacate order. All right. When in doubt, I know where I'll find it. Here we are. I know it's in here. Okay. This is my letter to the president. Now, notice here. I'm citing the source. Okay. The source is his executive order. Right? Here's another executive order. Reference Annals of America, Volume 2. What am I referencing? In quotation marks. Right? Also be advised, motion number 23, executed by Congress on this date. I already know this. This was submitted, and the Supreme Court said, oh, hell no, get that the hell out of here. Don't ever bring that back. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and there it is. No motion for rehearing or reinstatement. What part of reinstatement do you dumb shits not understand? Anyway, I digress. This was the one I really wanted to go. I really wanted to point out a lot, bring some attention to. Now, when you're going to cite a source, put the thing that you're citing in quotation marks, okay, and right next to it in parentheses, you can put the source, what page it was on, and in this case, Black's Law 10th edition. Another one, I was wanting to be very specific, the 1991 definition of the emoluments clause on page 638 of the Black's Law 10th edition. We already know what the word says. The word was like the Supreme Court said, yeah, don't ever bring a business plan like that back in my face again, or I'll throw you in jail and never throw in, my luck, I'd probably end up in Gitmo or something. Of course, it's probably a vacation compared to the shit show I've been through. Anyway, also informing them, I know the difference between the constitutional republic and the representative democracy corporate entity that we're talking about. Remember that model on the board behind me, right? I've incorporated myself into that representative democracy corporate entity to access the constitutional republic because it is there. You just have to know how to get to it and use it. Right? It's been so long since anybody's done this. I joke about the book having 9 inches of dust on the damn thing. Well, after more than 100 years, I can probably understand why it's got 9 inches of dust on it. I don't know about y'all, but I was busy doing other stuff. So, is that partially my fault? Yes, it is partially my fault. I probably should have been doing this a long time ago. But anyway, let's see here. And of course, I just said, based on the, I asked a couple of very simple questions. Is one word really worth going to civil war over after more than 230 years of peaceful history under our belts? I mean, come on, seriously. And when you put the word in the proper context, as I did it, and built it in according to Annals of America, Volume 2, that's probably not a good thing, especially since the Supreme Court said, oh, hell no. Right? Okay. Just making sure, because if you can't do it, or if I can't do it, then what I cannot do in my person, I cannot do through the agency of another, meaning I can't create a contract to do it. So that means there's no power to do it. So, okay, Congress, why are you doing it? Why did you award a power that you yourself don't have? Oh, Houston, you got a problem. And the only way to access that is to, again, like I said, learn how to incorporate yourself into the state and, follow this, follow it lawfully, follow it properly, because it's there for you. So, but, all you need to do is just take a few minutes and just say, oh, well, okay, we're going to play Monopoly Corporation. I'm the mouse, right? Or the car in my case. It's I don't know. I hope that kind of, brings that kind of into perspective for you guys a little bit. because I mean, this is really important stuff. I mean, let's go through since everybody is already here in the private Zoom meeting anyway, and we're still live. I don't have anywhere to go. Dog is fine. Hi, Shannon. We can see you online now with your camera on. I wasn't even paying attention till just now. So let's see here. Okay, share that. And so let's go back to the corporations. Let's figure out how the hell to do this. And I've been missing the chat here. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's my girl. Oh. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to the Florida LLC order form. Let's open that sucker up and see what we get there. Okay. You're going to take some choices. What's your first choice? What's your second choice? Here we go. What's your address? You have a purchase? You have a PO box? Probably not going to work here. You're going to need a physical address. You can use your PO box to do business with, which will come later on. But here you go. See? Yeah, at a different mailing address, PO box. Imagine that. So you're going to go down through here, your name, full name, email address. Yes, you want to receive email alerts. Always receive email alerts. Trust me on this one. Name of your member or manager, number one. Who's your CEO? Who's going to be the primary doing the business, right? You want to name that person. Is it the same as the principal place of business? Probably. And of course, what's the address? If you have a spouse or somebody, a partner, you can add that person or persons, whatever. Member or management. Member or manager managed. Okay. What is it you're managing? You know, if anybody really wants to know what I put in there, United States government. That's what I put in there. So I said, you can really have some fun with this stuff because, hey, as a defense contractor, managing defense, I would say that's probably part of my job, especially since we're doing research and development to defend the nation. So that's why I said the fact that I've pissed off the bar, I really don't care. I'm enjoying this. Are you kidding me? They're probably sitting there going, probably should have made the arguments that he wanted me to make, huh? So here's your basic packages. Your basic package for Florida is $245. Of course, you can add other options to it. For an extra $35, you can obtain an SS4 for federal employer tax ID, which of course I've done. Sales and use tax license. Excuse me, I have one, but I do not use it. It's there in case I would decide I want to open up a different department or a different subsidiary of this company and do something else with it, sell t-shirts, get stuff made for the company and sell that, so there's a whole process for that. And it's in the documents that come with the sales and use tax license. So it's basically like a vendor's license. So deluxe kit upgrade, including corporate seal and embosser. Yes, I have one of those. Matter of fact, I've even shown it to you. It's right here. So LLC seal and embosser, only $32. He sounds like a salesman here on this thing. Only $32. And if you act now. So I digress. I'm having too much fun for this to be called work. Let's see. Choose who's going to be registered agents. Here you go. You can always add or remove agents as you go. So knowing that every time you add an agent, it's going to cost you $95. Okay. Chances are it's going to cost you $95 to remove them. So you need to be prepared for that if you're going to go that route. And of course, when you get into franchising, I mean, there's ways around that. You can get into franchising, which is, you know, partnering with E-Clause LLC is partnering with ABC and Associates, doing business as E-Clause through contract. So, you know, much in the same way ABC and Associates would open a McDonald's, there would still be a contract between ABC and Associates and E-Clause. That's basically how the franchising thing works. So it's easy. It's just paperwork's like that freaking thick. And of course, you always want to say, I'll supply my own registered agent, right? Remember those jurat forms? Let's see, there's those, there's the consent forms, there's, let me see. Yeah, unanimous consent of directors and unanimous consent of shareholders. Well, because I haven't sold any shares on the New York Stock Exchange yet. Yes, I still am considering doing that. I haven't done it yet, but I will eventually, one of these days ish. Other processing time, or order processing time, you can expedite it if you want. 1 to 2 business days for an extra $50. Shipping options, you can actually add 1 to 2 days for your hard copies for $15. You can get email if you want for no charge, but always, honest to God, please, for the love of God, always get something in tangible document from them, because it comes from their stationery that has their watermarks on it. So it'll actually have your state's watermark as opposed to just printing a copy of one. So what you see behind me on the wall, those are just printed copies of the actual documents, which I have, you know, in the safe where they belong. And, you know, this way you can keep everything, you know, straight. You can keep everything, you know, true and correct. And also you can keep your electronic versions on your computer. So if you ever have to email somebody something, or if you're going through a court process and they say, hey, I need your vendor information so I can add you in as a vendor, go right to that file and boom, send it, attach it to whatever the process is that they want you to follow. And there's you're done in a matter of microseconds. So, again, that's why I said, you know, this is actually very simple. Starting a company doesn't really take much of anything to actually do it. Go back to the cover page, or to the home page here. Different fees and so let's do fictitious name registration. So let's do that. Why would you want to register a fictitious name? Could that be something what's known as a nom de plume? Nom de plume is used for writers, authors specifically. If you don't want to be identified in your proper person, you can register a nom de plume. For example, Samuel Clemens was also known as Mark Twain. See, so there's a good example. Let's see. You will, of course, be required to put your full name, your email address, yada, 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 yada. But this is, you know, what your basic startup is $165. Or you can add the, you know, if you act now, you can add your federal employer tax ID, but you don't have to do that. So what other options do we have here? I hope we're kind of getting through this okay. Hope I haven't been paying much attention to the questions, but I'll go back through those in a little while. Let's see. Florida corporation fees and services. There's a good one. Let's look at that. Okay. There's your fees for $245 and different services. There we are. So employer, let's open that up in coding. There we are. Obtain your EIN number. So if you have your EIN number, you can stick it right in there. Remember, that was that irs.gov? Is that this one? No, that's, where did irs.gov go? I think I shut it down. Oh, well. I digress. Now I got to get back to Florida Department of State. There we are. There we go. So, again, what's your seal? If there's a picture of this in there, I think. Yeah. See? It's just like the one I just showed you. So that's what your seal, your embosser looks like. It's just like the one I showed you. So again, let me run down through and answer some questions here. Go back to the beginning. Private unincorporated business trust is good. Yep, that's true, depending on if that's what you want to do. Let's see here. And incorporated advantages. Yes, move as an S corp. Yeah, that's why I said there's different types of corporations. You can run any kind of corporation you want. It depends on what you want to do. Yes, I stretched R&D for a reason. Let's see. What's up, Tony? Two reads. What comprehension? Yeah, very good point, Malika. Very good point. Let's see here. I think we have International Fake Station. Yeah, that's a you got that right. Okay. Subsection, paragraph symbol. Yeah, there's well, of course, it depends on, again, what your business practice is. So that brings up an interesting point. The section subsection symbol, that's primarily used by bar members, right? A lot of that stuff is part of their copywritten crap, right? So, one of the things that I do by not playing their game and forcing them to play my game is, hey, we're talking about the clear and plain language of the law. I could give a crap less about your shit made up. Take your code. I eat algorithms for breakfast. You don't want to play algorithm with me. Hell no. I will beat you to death with calculus and geometry and trigonometry and every other damn thing. I got time. Trust me, I got time. So I think I've already established that I can definitely do that. And I'm capable of doing that because I've done it. So let's see. Are you an an incorporated? I'm an LLC, limited liability. And yes, there are differences. There are many differences. One of the reasons why I choose limited liability is because, the inherent benefits of limited liability are, when you walk in and you say, for example, hey, tell me about this word emoluments. It's in my oath of office. Okay, well, Bill Barr said, well, that's a stipend attached to some office. Awesome sauce. That's the definition I'm going with. So that's why I went back and I built the business model based on Bill Barr's definition: advantages, profits, and gains. Remember? Let's see here, because it was Dianne Feinstein that asked him about the emoluments clause, and he went, I don't fucking know. What are you asking me for? So he just answered the word. He knew what the word was. It's been around since the 15th century. So, remember, they're playing bait and switch on this. And what do we know about how they love to play bait and switch? So she was trying to get him to play into this 1991 definition, and he wasn't playing that, right? So he's like, no, that's fiction. That's shit made up. We're going back with the 15th century definition. So you see what I'm saying? It's a way to literally walk in the door, ask the question, and make them answer your question in context and go, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, that's a good question. What the hell is going on here? Right? So remember, provide oversight. So I hope that kind of gets you guys with the knowing and understanding the difference of what the benefits are of actual incorporation. Because remember, for me to do this manually, I would have spent how many hours, how much money in gas, there'd have been no way in hell I'd been able to work. So I can literally incorporate myself into the Republic because it is there. It's just in Washington, D.C. So remember, we're talking about the state. This corporation is way out of Republican in character or form. Where's all the rest of these emoluments? Where's all this other shit coming from? Right? I know what mine are. Remember, I've shown that. I have my executive standing. That's the business license. I have my, I'm sorry. No, that's my, what do you call it? Notary credential. That's the executive. Legislative credential is, of course, my incorporation into the state and that license to do business in commerce lawfully. So I kind of got a double whammy on them there, right? And of course, the judicial mandate, which says, well, the department claiming that it's the department versus Mr. Hallett. Well, we think Mr. Hallett's probably closer to the right track. So what we can do is we can't really come out and say it, but because it would create too much of a shitstorm if we do. But what we will do is we will say, yes, it is him versus them. We're just going to put it that way and go on and continue on. So that's the reason that the standing mandate, remember, where you're standing in law is the key issue. So it's knowing how to process that and put that in proper context as you move forward. And the way to properly get heard, mandatory oversight, is to be incorporated and let them know, oh, dude, I know the difference. Hell, I know. Hell yeah, I know the difference. So, yeah, you got that right, Kirk. Don't buy into their shit show. So we already know it's a shit show. I mean, it is what it is. But, so, I don't know. I think that pretty much about covers it. I haven't seen any other questions out there that would require any specific answers beyond what I've given you guys already. So to know your basic corporation, at least here in Florida, just the basic was like what, $245. Getting the entire package and everything I did, it was right around 500. But again, knowing what I wanted to do with it, I wanted it to be expansive, to include research and development, to include different departments, to include a conservatorship, to include the ability to eventually franchise out and do business and commerce and, like that. I knew all that when I started this. That's the reason I went for the whole package. So a lot of those things I haven't even used yet, or haven't even begun to use yet, but they're there. They're there when I'm ready to use them. So it was worth the initial investment. And that's why I said, for what I got for $500, a completely defined standing in law where I can walk into them and say, yo, numbnuts, what are you doing? And they have to answer the question. Is that's what I'm trying to help you guys know, and I'm trying to help you guys understand, because look, we already know what the foreign ideology is. I think, again, you guys wouldn't be watching if you didn't understand, or you didn't at least say whether he's right or whether he's wrong, he's 100%. He's at least got some part of this thing right. So, yeah, I think that's it right there. So I think unless there's any other major questions, you guys, if you want to jump into the Zoom ID 748-311-5755. Again, that's 748-311-5755. I'm going to go ahead and shut the live feed off now, and we're going to sit around here and shoot the SMU. And yes, Shannon, wave hi to the people, for the folks at home. And we'll do corporate stuff. And anything else that we enjoy, we'll let you guys know if we learn anything. So on that note, I think that pretty much about gets us done off of here. Let me go on and there we are. All right, guys, much love. We will see you tomorrow night on Kirk's Law Corner, and have a wonderful night. Okay, we